In this video, I'm going to be reviewing 47 Meters Down, and for what it's worth, it made me jump more than The Conjuring 2 did. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Lavin, and I review movies to help you manage your expectations so when you walk out of the theater, you're not left disappointed. And this week I decided to check out 47 Meters Down. It's a survival story about two sisters who decide to go diving in a shark cage. Well, the cable snaps and now they find themselves trapped beneath the surface of the ocean, surrounded by sharks with limited amount of air. Now, walking in, I was expecting a movie something along the lines of The Shallows. It was another shark attack movie that came out last year. It's about a young girl who is attacked by a shark 200 meters off from shore, and it's her struggle to make it back alive. Now, the strength in that movie was found in the character development and the performance Blake Lively gave. But in many ways, that's this movie's biggest weakness, is the character development, is the performance. I don't buy the romantic interest involved. I can't stand the motivation given to these two girls. I mean, you have two strong female leads, and the best you can do is let's go do something crazy to get back at your ex. One of the sisters comes across as a bit whiny and therefore annoying. And finally, the acting just comes across as okay. As long as the girls were in the water and they were trying to convince me that they were terrified, I bought it. But this movie never really took the time to develop the relationship between the two sisters. And I feel like it would have really benefited from that. If they would have taken the time to develop these characters properly, it would have taken a good movie and made it great. So the rating threw me off a bit. I went into this expecting your standard shark attack movie, and most shark attack movies are pretty graphic. That's why they're rated R. So when I realized this one was only PG-13, I honestly had reservations about it. I felt like we were going to end up with a shark attack movie without very many shark attacks. But I was pleasantly surprised. There's actually quite a bit of gore in this movie. There's more than I thought a PG-13 rating could actually get away with. But it's not oversaturated with it. So when it happens, it feels very natural. What you really need to know going into this is it's not your standard shark attack movie. While sharks are definitely an element in it, they are not the only element that make this movie terrifying. Which finally brings me to my last negative, the sharks themselves. Sometimes you could tell they were CGI, but that's not even my biggest problem. My biggest issue is how they were used. Now, this movie is a suspense thriller, so it shouldn't surprise you that there's going to be some scares along the way. And they do that in a variety of different ways. But one thing they incorporate is jump cuts. And a lot of those jump cuts involve sharks. Given the nature of this movie and how well they build the suspense, I couldn't help but wonder if it wouldn't have been more effective to have a slow reveal rather than a quick one. Now that those negatives are out of the way, let's talk about atmosphere. Because once these girls get in the cage, it begins to feel very claustrophobic. Their air is restricted. The cage is confining. Radio contact is limited. And their range of sight is obstructed. And all of this creates this layer of mystery. And when that mystery begins to build, what you have is two people that are completely isolated from everyone else, not knowing where the next threat will come from. And that mystery creates anxiety, and that anxiety builds tension. And they maintain that tension throughout the remainder of the movie. My biggest fear was that they would abandon that strategy and become over-reliant on the sharks the further they went through this movie. But they didn't. They maintained it throughout, and it absolutely pays off in the end. So speaking of the end, 47 Meters Down has the best end to a movie I have seen in years. And it kills me that I can't talk about it. I can't tell you a single thing about it simply because it risks ruining the movie for you. And I'm not going to do that. So instead, let me talk about pacing. So I'll admit the first 20 minutes of this movie are hard to get through. As long as they're focusing on character development, it just doesn't work for me. But as soon as they get in the water, everything changes. From the time they hit the water to the time the credits roll, I feel like the pacing is perfect. It gradually builds tension throughout the film until it finally reaches its climax, and it does not disappoint. So right now, 47 Meters Down is currently sitting at 49% rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, both with the critic review as well as with the audience reviews. And one of the criticisms I kept reading with the audience reviews is that they didn't see enough sharks in it. So let me try to help you out a little bit. I don't want you to go into this expecting a shark attack movie. If you go into it expecting that, you're going to be disappointed. I want you to think of something more along the lines of Apollo 13. Now, this is not a masterpiece of a film, but the story is very similar. You have two people that have a problem, and all of a sudden, they have to work through issues to make it back home. Sharks increase the threat at every turn, but it is not about them versus the shark. It's about them versus their situation. So 47 meters down was thrilling. It kept me on the edge of my seat. Its story points were solid, even if its characters weren't. And at the end of the day, it exceeded my ever expectation. Score-wise, I would have to give it a solid B. So if you haven't seen this yet, I want to encourage you to go out and see it this weekend. Make sure you jump in the comment section below and let me know, what is your favorite shark attack movie of all time? Excluding Jaws, that's cheating. And as always, if you made it to this point in the video, you must have liked it, so why don't you go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and make sure you hit the subscribe button on your way out so you're kept up to date next time I get ready to upload a new video.